Welcome back to the Urban Monk Podcast. Dr. Pedram Shojai here with my buddy Eric Farewell at my pool. We're excited. This is a new format. I'm going to tell you, for years I did the Health Bridge, I did the Urban Monk format, and I got tired of being inside the frickin' dungeon. Inside, artificial lights, and I was like, man, I'm getting unhealthy talking about health. Screw that. This is the new format. Eric and I just worked out. We did the sauna, we did the steam, toweled down, and now we're sitting here poolside and getting some sun and sharing wisdom with you. So I hope you like the new format. Eric, it is good to see you, my friend.
This is always a blast. We've been talking about this for months, guys. Like, I'm genuinely excited because Pedro's one of my best friends. He just moved here. We got to hang out. We work out 3 times a week together. And we were like, what can we do this different? Like, what about poolside with Pedram? That would be cool. And here we are.
Here we are. And honestly, afterwards, we're just going to backflip into this thing with all the gear. It'll be
100%.
It'll be great. So this is the first time with this format, and I'm honored that you're the guy that we get to inaugurate this with. So Eric has become a fast friend. Eric is someone who I have a lot of affinity towards. He has helped a lot of people get through their shit. And he does it in a way that I find to be very respectful and punchy at the same time. So I'd love to just get a little bit into your story, just to contextualize who's this guy.
Absolutely. And to add context, we get through our shit because I had to get through my shit. The reality is most of us, especially entrepreneurs, are hard charging, driving as fast as they can, doing as much as they can, trying to stay focused, trying to stay engaged, largely so they don't have to feel the hard things that we need to feel in order to be whole humans. And for me, all of that came to a head 7 years ago. My brother died. And I realized that making an extra million, making an extra 10 million was not going to make me happier. My body started shutting down around me. My blood pressure was like 190 over 95. And apparently high scores are bad in that. I didn't know. I'm a homeschool high school dropout. I don't know a lot of things. But I've been driving my whole life. And eventually the drive wasn't serving me anymore. I was like, what else is there? And I discovered somatic work. I discovered breathwork. I discovered meditation. I learned that I can be present with all that is and not have to push down, suppress, hide, run from pain. And that's weird, probably, but it was really important for me.
So the show must go on. So many people live by that motto. I can't, or their example is, I got to fix this plane while it's in the air. You're out on the wing fixing the plane. Once you get a story, it'll make more sense, right? You're fixing shit while trying to pay the bills and get this one to school and all the stuff. And then it just gets heavier and heavier. And eventually you either crash the plane or you got to land it.
Yeah. Either your world falls apart or you find a new way. And that's really where I was. So to give a background story, I guess I can dive into that. Do you want the 2-minute version or the 5-minute version?
I want the 5-minute version.
All right.
We're at the pool.
We're at the pool. My legs are in a hot tub. This is delightful.
It's a cold hot tub. This is Austin, by the way. We never heat the hot tub.
No, this is the perfect temperature. I think we were sweating when we sat down, and now I think the sweat's mostly cleared. So
we're just greasy.
Just greasy. So I grew up in Central Florida. I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. My parents sold books to homeschoolers for over 30 years. My great-grandmother started a restaurant and country inn out of her home during the Great Depression. That turned into a massive restaurant and a massive hotel. By massive, I mean 30 guest rooms and a couple hundred seats in the dining room. But for over around 80 years that it was open. And I was born on the property. Quickly discovered that as soon as I could start working, which was about the age of 7, people treated me differently. They treated me with respect. They showed me that I was valuable. And that was something that was desperately lacking in my childhood, in my home, because I was one of 5 kids, grew up in a cult. Cult, I'll put quotes around it. It was a homeschool Christian family. And I mean, very culty things. I got married at 23 and I was one of the oldest friends that got married. Everyone's like, oh, you're an old maid. And I'm like, I'm 23, but work became my life. It became the place where I felt most valued. At the age of 7, I went to work at the restaurant. By 13, I'd saved enough money to buy my first airplane, which was my dream, because my grandfather had taken me flying at the age of 3, and I felt free. I felt like no one could hurt me.
Hold on a second. Age 7, you went to work. Yep. Age 13, and this is back in the 70s?
I'm not that old.
Okay.
As old as you, 90s?
Yeah, 90s. Okay. And so how much money is an airplane in the 90s? That's a lot of money to save for a kid.
So I think I saved around 12 grand. It was a kit airplane, a little single seat wooden airplane that you build in your garage, right? In my case, in a hangar. And about 2 weeks later, I realized, it came to terms with the fact that ADHD kids are not designed to build airplanes. I had glued 5 sticks together and I had smoothed them with sandpaper, and that was all I did in 2 weeks. Like I was there every day. I was reading the plans. I was just so scattered. I had no self-control. And so I put it up for sale on this new thing called the internet. This was 1999. And I sold it. And the next thing I knew, the guy I bought it from was like, hey, you sold that on the interwebs? I said, yeah, I did. It's the internet, but yes, I did. He asked me to sell his hangar full of stuff. And over the next 5 years, I sold over 200 airplanes and got to own, before I was 18, I owned 49 airplanes.
Wow.
And started flying, was in lessons at 13, sold it when I was 16. And before I had my driver's license, I'd fly back and forth with my family's runway to my hangar at the main airport where I had my business selling and flipping airplanes, building airplanes, all that stuff.
So legally you could fly a plane but not drive a car?
Correct.
Amazing.
Yeah. A little bit weird, but it was an interesting way to grow up, and I can glamify it, make it sound like an epic thing. And the reality was, my grandparents had money, my uncle's family had money, my family was broke, like broke. We traveled from March to October every year, March to September, and we did homeschool conferences, and we'd make a lot of money at about 6% profitability. And by the time we got to Christmas, there's nothing left, like nothing left. So coming from that place of tension and fear around money, I knew that I needed to make a lot of it because I had big dreams. I really wanted to fly. I really wanted to get away. I really wanted to build something that mattered. I started going to internet marketing conferences when I was 13, and that opened my mind. I was like hanging out with Frank Kern and John Reese and all these legends, and they're making insane money on this thing called the internet, and not from tangible products, but from PDFs and recordings and,
air.
Out of air. Yeah. And so I learned, like, okay, I could do that. So I started learning it. Of course, no one was selling airplanes on the internet in 99, 2000, and no one was 13 years old and passionate as hell, willing to do whatever it took. So I started accumulating mentors, and I traveled all over the country with these mentors, going conference to conference, learning and eventually speaking. And that was my life until I was 23. And I got married, and 2 weeks later, we were actually just down the street in San Antonio, Texas. I did a conference, and I spoke, and I closed the room, and I killed. It was like that whole build up, 9 years of building up to, I want to be the best salesman at the event. And I was. And 3 days later, my wife turned to me. We were in Wimberley, Texas. And she said, Eric, you hate what you do. I don't care about the money. Why don't you do what you love? And no one had ever given me permission to do what I love. No one had ever encouraged me to follow my passion in that way. So I was like, what do I love? Well, I love photography and I love flying. It's really hard to make a living in both of those, by the way. It was a little easier back then because there weren't a billion photographers. It was the beginning of the digital age. But I went all in. I had a blog that was pretty popular that was building a photography business, and eventually fell back into aviation and built a flight school and now a manufacturing company and dealers all over the world. And that was my life for 14 years. And, or for the last 14 years, I should say. And 4 years ago, I finally built the systems and hired the right people to completely retire and move here to Texas, where I've got 4 companies in aviation and media that live in Florida, and I don't. So I get to hang out with friends like you.
Yeah, you get to dip your feet in the cold water jacuzzi.
It's amazing.
It's really good. It feels really good, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of the game. Your wife says you hate. You agree. Now you're fly boy, living your dream. And all of a sudden, you start skewing towards being too busy. You start falling into the matrix.
100%.
And so, like, even when we follow our dreams, we fuck up, right? So that to me, like,
it's childhood programming, right? My programming said if you work really, really hard and people need you and you solve their problems, then you're a good boy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it was my programming was completely aligned with being a good boy, but that meant 100-hour work weeks. It meant not knowing my kids. It meant my marriage is falling apart. It meant all of these things are happening on the exterior, and I have no time to even think about them because I have to get back to work.
For my dream.
For my dream, which, mind you, I feel very blessed. I built a multi-7-figure business, really an 8-figure business, in this world's smallest niche that's just pure passion-based, right? We became the 800-pound gorilla in the industry. Our biggest clients, the Department of Defense. Like, we know what we're doing. And I was killing myself. Like, genuinely. And everything that actually matters in my life today, my marriage is number one. Well, I'm number one. I have to take care of me first. Then my marriage, then my kids. They were all poured by the wayside because of this demon that was on my back called work and success.
That hurts because that is the God of the American dream.
Yes.
And so reconciling that with saying, shit, well, I got bills. How does one even start doing that, right? Like, people are so stuck in the rat race, and I got to make my nut.
It's a difficult thing, and I accidentally became a coach a couple of years ago. You know the story, but what I've learned is most of the lessons that I had to go through with hardship, you can build frameworks around it and understand, okay, if you know your finances really well, you know what your burn rate is, you understand what your nut is, what your needs are, maybe you don't have to work 100 hours a week. Maybe you can get really specific. When I started Aviator Paramotor, I knew what our nut was. I knew what I had to make every month. And I figured out, well, if I get to the 25th of the month and we don't have the nut paid, I can go bartend or sell cars. I had friends that did both, right? I had companies and I was always welcome to go work. And so I knew that if I worked for the last 5 days of the month, I can make the bare minimum, not to save anything, not to have health insurance, not to like, it wasn't pretty, but I could do it. And so that became my safety cycle. It was like, okay, I'm going to build this thing that matters. I was so entrenched in this online world selling air. I wanted to build something real. And like, I had this dream of taking an industry where most of my competitors were like in a falling down hangar and, really crappy part-time weekenders. I was like, I want to have a showroom. I want this thing to feel like a motorcycle dealership. And we have it. You can go to Central Florida. We have a 60 by 90 hangar that has a showroom. We have classrooms with nice comfy chairs. It's like, it's actually professional,
Yeah.
And it was great to have that dream until the dream no longer served me.
This idea that it no longer served you. There's probably like a 10-year window before someone else gets there, right? So it's divorce, it's healthcare crisis, it's lightning striking, right? Where you're like, shit, okay, gig is up.
Right.
How did that happen for you?
So I think for everyone, there's different times. There's a lot of things you just mentioned that wake you up and go, oh, what I'm doing is not who I want to be anymore. I love what my companies do. I still own 100% of them. I really believe in their mission because their mission aligns with my own. But being on the field, being in the day-to-day no longer served me, my family, or what I wanted to bring to the world, because I think that our responsibility is to understand what our legacy is going to be. It's what is going to be put on our tombstone that matters. And for me, my tombstone will read, he loved. And they didn't read, he worked really hard, made lots of money, and helped people learn to fly and built flying machines. None of that stuff matters at the heart of it. And if I'm not loving myself, not loving my family, and I'm using this drug of work to not have to feel my feelings, I can't love. So for me, it was my brother died. My brother dying, 2018. He was 22 years old. He moved in with us when he was 18. He was my first employee at Aviator. Worst employee I've ever had in my life, bar none. He lived at our shop at one point, and he was late to work every day. I've never had another human. But he's 22 years old. He got drunk. He was driving home a mile and wasn't wearing a seatbelt, flipped his car. He had a 3-month-old son.
Oh, God.
And I was fine. I managed it. I was in control because that's what I did. I fixed problems. I helped with chaos. I create chaos because I felt good in it. I felt like I mattered. I called my parents who were on their first vacation ever in Italy that we just sent them on, and had to call my siblings and tell them their brother had died. And 6 months later, I couldn't walk. And I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, I've broken my back twice. I live in a lot of pain, but I couldn't walk. I couldn't go from my bedroom to the bathroom, which is about 30 feet. And I knew something I had to give. So I started just reaching out for anything. Like, what can help me? I went to surgeons. I went to chiropractors. I went to massage therapists. I went to all these different people. And I was with this little tiny Cuban woman. And she looks at me and she goes, do you think this pain could be emotional? It's like, I mean, yeah, my brother just died. My business is in chaos always. I'm always needed. There's all this stuff going on. We're really successful. And I'm miserable. She says, you should meet with Avelino. Avelino's her husband. And he started doing a process called emotion code, which is woo-woo mumbo jumbo. I'm a homeschool Christian kid. We don't play with this nonsense, right? Reiki, and it must be witchcraft, right?
Witchcraft.
But emotion code's really simple. And it's basically, you muscle test to figure out what emotions are trapped in your body, because everything's energy. And when our body can't process an emotion because it's too big, it's too much, it's something we don't have the tool to learn, it's trapped in your body. So they run a magnet down your spine. And then you feel a straight up freaking hangover, like an emotional hangover, sometimes for a day, sometimes for a couple of days, but it allows that stuff to process. Whether or not it works, whether or not it's true, Wikipedia would call it pseudoscience. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
It changed my life because it made me actually honor the emotions that I didn't want to face. The grief, the disgust, the terror, all the things that I felt when my brother died that I didn't let myself actually process, and I could walk again. And I said, wait a second, I want more of this.
Yeah.
I need more of this. I need to understand all the things I've tried to hide my whole life. So I went all in. My family crest says anything worth doing is worth overdoing. At least it used to say that. We're trying to temper this at this point a little bit. But I just went to every practitioner I could. I went to everything I could possibly find that might bring us peace. And at the same time, my marriage is truly falling apart. We were keeping score. We're just, everything becomes a trigger in a fight. Everything is fight or flight. My wife's a freezer. I'm a fighter. It's not a very good combination.
Mm.
And we went to a marriage retreat. And during the first few minutes, they kind of represented like, oh, here's how you communicate with your nervous system. And I'm like, nervous system? Like, I mean, I know what the nervous system is. There's nerves, and like, that's how it works. And they're standing across from each other, man and wife. And she said, we're going to think about the time where I most loved you, where I most saw your beauty. And you watch her just melt because the energy he's pushing. And I want you to think about the time where I most betrayed you, most made you feel unloved. And you watch her just, and I was like, oh, nervous system. Okay. And then they split us up. They're like, all right, men over here, women over there, different rooms. Women did their thing. Men went and sat like this, good posture, hands on your thighs, eye to eye with another man across from you and breathing. And I'm like, well, this is pretty woo-woo. And about 2 minutes in, the leader goes, gentlemen, what you're practicing is self-control. And I felt blind freaking rage. Because my whole life, everyone told me from the time I was 2 or 3 years old, Eric, you'll either end up in prison or as president. You just need more self-control. But no one ever told me what it was. No one gave me a tool. I had no idea. Here I am breathing for 2 minutes, and I understood. It's like, I am practicing self-control. Meditation is not for ADHD kids. It's impossible. It's what it was always in my head. It's what people told me. And now I'm meditating, and I went all in. Suddenly our marriage starts coming back together. We're meditating together, eye to eye gazing, meditating alone, learning about breath work, and then COVID hits. Now it's like, well, we've got all the time in the world. Let's do 2, 3, 4 hours a day, energy sessions, just all kinds. And I just watched everything in my life get better. I watched my marriage just become magic. My children love to spend time with me and engage. And that's still going on 5 years later. And yeah, it's hard sometimes. But I learned that there were tools that could bring me presence. And I really believe in the heart of hearts that presence is the nucleus that creates a byproduct of everything good in life. Actually being engaged, actually being here, not thinking about what we have to do next. Not like, I don't have my phone on me. I don't need it. I don't need to check out. I don't need to go anywhere else. I want to be here. And I want that in every moment with every child, with every moment with my wife. I want those moments. So I became so passionate about how do I create more presence in my life. And that's been the biggest gift I've ever had.
It's funny because presence doesn't have a value on the stock exchange.
No.
And it's by far the most valuable gold
100%.
in reality.
Absolutely.
And so all these things that you mentioned that came back through presence, through the filter of presence, I don't think people can reconcile that because they haven't been present long enough, thanks to the socials and all of it. It's like we're so lacking in our attention, in our presence, that it seems like a foreign word. So let's double click on what presence is to you. Like when you're with your wife, you tell the kids, hey, I'm talking to my wife right now. Like, how does this deploy to just, I'm being present in the thing that I've chosen to be present with?
A big piece of it for me is to understand what our boundaries are, because boundaries create presence. Goals don't. Goals keep us running ragged, and then when we don't hit our goal, we feel ashamed. We go into these spirals and these loops of not loving ourselves, right? So learning to be deeply present, the boundary steps in with, I'm engaging with you. I came back from a conference and I told my wife, I'm going through my notes with her. And I'm like, hey, this is amazing. I learned all these things and I'm going to demand radical presence. And my wife looked at me and she goes, boy, you're going to demand what? I was like, of myself. Like of myself, not of you. Like I can't demand radical presence of my wife. That's her responsibility.
I can't even get you to like brush your teeth at the same time as me, right? Like, come on, it's a different person.
But if I'm demanding radical presence of myself, that means that when she walks in the room and I'm engaged with something else, the phone goes down.
Yeah.
The laptop gets closed.
Hi, honey.
Hi, I'm here. I'm engaged. My nervous system is safe to be around. You can see that I'm not agitated, that I am here and present with whatever experience you're having. We lost my father-in-law this year, and it was the most incredible challenge and almost emotional whiplash, because like I'd be on a coaching call and everything's awesome, and I'm like, we're changing lives and things feel great and people are making lots of money and everything's awesome, and I open my office door and my wife's weeping.
Oh.
And I have to go, what's my tool? Because we're only as good as the tools we have. And now I've learned all these tools. The first tool I have is posture. Immediately dropping into posture. She knows that if I'm sitting like this on the bed or wherever I am, witnessing her, looking at her left eye, I'm not going to respond to anything she says. I'm just going to witness until she asks for a response. So now I'm safe for her to talk to because I'm not trying to solve her problem, right? The biggest challenge that most people have in their marriage is not money. It's partners trying to solve each other's problems. You have your problems. Elmira has her problems. There are no such thing as relationship problems. You can't do anything for her problems. She can't do anything for your problems. If you try, you will create a fight. You will create a tension. You will create disruption. So by creating that presence where she feels safe to be seen, now I can witness her move through the emotion instead of it just being this thing she pushes down and compacts. Losing him was horrible. And it's been so much easier than it was 7 years ago, because now we have the tools to actually feel everything instead of trying to run. So it's been an interesting year.
It's a very, very fast turning wheel for you. You lived a good part of life before this stuff started happening.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of the Jesus plan, right? Is a lot of people feel like I'm too far gone. I'm past salvation. I have sinned. I have screwed up. I've done all these things. And, what kind of self-care is going to fix me in the time that I, need to be fixed in? And so they never start.
Right. It's much like a gong. Like you have someone take on this big challenge, but really what they're taking on is a commitment to themselves. They're taking on discipline, and they're taking on a choice to do something difficult and remain with it because they matter enough to do so. So it's a lot of what you teach and what's in the Urban Monk and all these different books that you've written is a path toward presence and self-love. And that's a uncomfortable thing because we're not told that that's the most important thing to learn. This stuff's not in schools.
We're actually trained to look away.
Absolutely.
Take this Advil, the headache goes away.
Yeah. I have a new client, one-on-one client, and he's up in the Northwest, and he sent me a text 2 days ago. He's like, I'm just so angry. So, I'm so angry that no one ever told me this was possible. I'm so angry no one ever told me it was possible to show up this way, to actually be engaged, to actually feel what I'm feeling, to honor my anger, to honor my pain, to look at my childhood and try to heal. Like
the grown man.
A grown man who didn't know there was another way. Yeah. Well, when things are hard and I'm frustrated and I'm overwhelmed, well, I guess the best thing to do is to throw another ball in the air.
Yeah.
To juggle more, so I can't pay attention to the things that are making me feel the way I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And what I've learned from guys like you and from many other leaders and teachers is that actually those are the moments to stop, to get slow, to get focused, to be engaged. And this has been the most stressful year I've had maybe ever, at least in the last 7 years. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I have the deepest relationships. I have the most beautiful connections. My wife and I are amazing. My kids snuggle me every night. I've got a 14-year-old, 6-foot-tall son who comes into our bed and snuggles for 10 minutes every night. That's winning at life, man.
Winning at life, yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, he's not too cool for you. That means you're winning.
Yeah. I just wanted that to continue for like the next 20 years. That'd be cool.
Totally. Why is this grown man in your bed?
I know. So, I mean, hey, it's a little weird, but
his wife moved in. That's strange.
That's not happening.
That's not happening.
I had boundaries.
Boundaries. All right. So you've been in this transition. I mean, you still love flying and all the stuff that you do, but now you're starting to help executives and entrepreneurs find their way, but not by like adjusting KPIs and toggling dashboards and all that.
And some of that's important too. Like, I think that you have to have
needs
both.
To be there.
Yeah.
But you're helping them get out of their own way. So I just explain your process, because you've helped a lot of people, I know. And I hope you could help the folks that are with us now.
Yeah, it'd be my honor. So most entrepreneurs feel completely trapped by their business. You know, if you founded a company you believe in and you want to do good for the world, chances are every time a client calls, you're taking it. Every time an employee calls, you're taking it. Day, night, you've never had a real vacation. You're working constantly. You're always engaged. And what I've learned is that's not necessary. if we build companies that matter, we build companies that actually have a real mission, real values, real vision for what they want the world to become, you could find a team that will take on your role. And mind you, most founders don't think it's possible. They're like, who's going to replace me? Like, I can do it all. No one else can do it all. Me. And the reality is, it's true. You're not going to find one person to replace you. It took 8 people to replace me in my main company. And it took a couple of years, almost 3 years of processes and building systems and trying to figure out who we need for that. And I need someone who's really empathetic, who can handle people when they're upset or hurt or scared. I need someone who's really great at sales because that's what I did, right? I need someone who can manage this and manage that. And as you start to catalog what you do with your time, how happy it makes you, and how impactful it is. And then anything that's not impactful, you offload to a team member. Anything that's not making you happy, of course you offload to a team member, right? Our mission here is to create freedom in your business so that you have the time to actually focus on you. Because if you're not focusing on you, if you're not looking at yourself deeply, chances are there's a piece of your life, even if you think you had a perfect childhood, everything was great, there's a piece of your life, there's some part of you that is traumatized, that did go through something that's leading your business. And my 7-year-old was in charge of my company. 28 employees, millions of dollars in revenue, and my 7-year-old's making every decision. My 7-year-old had an open door policy, so people would come and just open my door and ask me a question every minute and 15 seconds. If I wasn't in a meeting, my assistant clocked it. She got a stopwatch. She's like, you know, Eric, you have someone that asks you a question every minute and 15 seconds. How do you ever get anything done?
I think I don't.
And I said, well, I do at night. When I go home at 11,
I can work till my marriage.
Yeah, when I go home at 11, I work till 1, and then I go back to work at 5:30. It's good. I'm killing it. We're still growing 300% a year. I mean, we're on it. And I'm miserable. And my health is so impacted. Every 3 months, I'd go home and I'd sleep for 3 days with a fever, and then I go back to work. Yeah. And I felt like I was winning because I had a team, so I could do that. I could go home and sleep, because I used to just keep working through the fever, which was really not good. So it was realizing that these tools needed to happen for my life. And then when I started teaching it, it was remarkable that it didn't take 3 years for someone to have the same experience that I did. They could do it in 3 months. They can use a toggle trackers, an app that tracks your time, and they can log how they're utilizing, how they're showing up. They could be aware, because all of this comes back to intentionality, right? If you start to step into intention instead of staying in your programming, everything shifts. Everything changes. It's the same intention of a gong, or the same intention of doing a workout together. And like, I know that I'm never going to go to a gym and work out by myself. It doesn't inspire me.
That's why you come here.
So we became friends, and I told you that. I say, hey, you asked me if I ever want to come work out. I'm like, yes. What days? What time? I'll be there. Because I can't let you down.
And he's shown up.
And I have. Yeah. And I continue to. Same thing with Functional Patterns, my other gym. Like, I think I've been to one group class there ever. And my trainer is always like, man, like, you're paying a lot of money for this gym. And like, everybody else uses the group classes. I've been there 18 months. He's like, why don't you use them? I'm like, because I don't care. Right. But if I tell you I'm going to be here at a certain time, I'm not letting you down, because my intention is to care for other people as much as I need to care for myself.
When somebody hears and I could hear it in the back of my consciousness, right? Oh, easy for you to say you replace yourself with 8 people. I don't have the cash flow to do that. Must be nice. So the syntax error of where the mind has this lack of either resources or resourcefulness to make that happen, I think blocks a lot of people. So Absolutely. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, yeah, a lot of companies are running a tight ship. They don't have the capital. And if your company has a really clear mission that other people can believe in, that other people feel, maybe there's 100% staffed by alumni, people who learn to fly with us. 100%. It didn't used to be. You know, it just become that. And what's really fascinating by that is one of our employees that we hired on Facebook or LinkedIn or something to be our shipping and receiving manager, right? Local guy, never heard of paramotors, knew nothing about what we did. Well, after 6 months, one of your perks of working here is you get free flight training. Immediately signed up, learned to fly. Now we're 100% alumni staffed, right? Because they believe in the mission. And I mean, I don't like to get into too much detail around what I pay them, but every single member of our team has made a huge sacrifice to come work for us. I had a former CEO that worked for me that was making almost $500,000 a year, moved his family halfway across the country to make less than a fifth of that. COO who was making 7 figures in another company came to work for me for $45,000 a year. Not because I wanted to underpay them, it's what the company could afford. And they believed in the mission. And they loved their life there. They thought it was an amazing experience. And every member of the team that's still there, they don't have to look at the wall to find what the core values are. They know all the core values because it echoes their own heart. So yes, the way your company is right now, maybe you can't afford this. Maybe you can't afford to hire anyone, but I bet you can afford a Colombian VA for $1,000 a month. That you can hire right, train incredibly well, take all the things off your plate that are low impact, low happiness. $1,000 a month is not a lot of money. It may seem like we have a client who started his VA. He was like, he's a crop dusting pilot in Nebraska. He has a crop dusting drone service. Super cool business, super cool guy. He got grants to buy all the drones that he wrote the grant applications to ChatGPT and won all the grants because he just put in the rules that they wanted. It was super cool. But he's like, well, I don't have the revenue. So we hired a guy for 20 hours a week for $400 a month. He built out, using our systems, a 6-month program of what the expectations were for this VA. 3 weeks later, they were all done. First 6 months are completed. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He's like, now what do I do?
I got to give him stuff.
Right. So you start to find new ways. You can start to create a whole new business. He's like, well, I'm really good at training VAs to do the things that need to get done. 6 months worth of work in less than a month. That's really good. So now he's starting a mastermind to teach other founders how to get their VAs to maximize their. It's like, okay, because now he has all this time. And guess what that business is? Drone spraying, maybe he's making 30% profit. The profit on wisdom is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 95%, right? If he does $5,000 to teach a VA and a founder how to work together and how to hire the right one, all those things, he charges them $5,000. It costs him $400 a month for his VA to help. Yeah. A few hours to put it together. So it's just creating new opportunity you didn't think was there. And I think that's the most important thing. I think every founder needs a coach, which is someone who is living the life you want to live and can teach it. A mentor, which is someone who's living the life you want to live in 10 years and you can witness. And a community to come around you to be a witness to everything you're experiencing. Because otherwise you're lonely, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know how to get there. So it's magic when you have those 3 pieces. The magic that comes out of that is like, oh, I don't have to do it all myself.
Right.
I can just be here. I can just be present. I can be engaged. It's magic.
And part of this wisdom that kind of radiates out from this is kind of downstream from this concept that you first alluded to, which is presence.
Yeah.
The presence makes the wisdom. The wisdom is 10x the margin.
Yeah.
And creates opportunity because now you have leverage in all the things that you do.
Exactly. And have you seen this in your companies? You know, at Aviator, me leaving sales, I mean, it took a couple $1 million a year haircut at first. And I'm still taking a pretty big haircut, 4 years in. If it cost me $5 million a year to not have to ever go into work again, to not have to ever miss one of my kids' experiences, whether it be a football game or a dance practice or whatever it might be, I haven't had to miss a single one in 4 years. If that's worth millions of dollars a year to me, millions in a heartbeat, I was throwing my life away. If I look back at it, I'm like, I was so entrenched in my ego, my need to be needed, my need to believe that I had value, that I gave up everything that actually mattered to get told I was a good boy.
Yeah. The 7-year-old guy.
And I'm not willing to do that anymore because I learned the presence to know that I'm good in my soul, that I'm worthy, and that I can share my love with others. Right? So, of course, it's worth millions of dollars.
Yeah. It's funny because when you say millions of dollars, someone listening is like, that's out of my league. And so these numbers, the numbers are so funny.
Yeah.
Right? Because last night I was with people that were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. Just people.
The thing is,
it's just the way they use their mind to open things up.
I had a conversation yesterday with a young man who asked me, he said, do you think the 1% are taught something differently? And I was like, yes. The 1% have access to information that most people don't. Like 2018, I made $6 million. My mentor made $890 million. He paid less in taxes than I did.
Right.
He had a different set of tools I didn't have access to at the time, which is why he was my mentor, which is what I learned from. What's really fascinating, though, is that the people that were in the room with you last night making hundreds of millions of dollars, the people who are running a dog walking service or a lawn care or whatever business they have, maybe they have a web marketing agency, and they love that. That's their passion. They're all playing the same game. And when I throw a number out, like it cost me millions of dollars a year, and it makes your nervous system go, that's just your nervous system saying, oh, that's discomfort. And discomfort needs to be looked at. It needs to be witnessed.
Lean into that.
Lean into it. Understand, why is that nasty?
Yeah.
So if you change the number to, it cost me $10,000 a year to get my life back. And maybe it's a different life. Maybe if you're doing environmental services, maybe you can't hire people to replace you right away, but you can take away the parts that drain you and keep you at work while you're at home. Right. And maybe that doesn't mean it's millions of dollars spent or lost or gained or whatever. It's just, it's all energy. We're all playing the same game. We have different sized chips. And as soon as you realize that, well, you want to surround yourself with people who have the chips you want to have.
That's it.
Right. We moved to a new neighborhood here 18 months ago. And on our block, there's an anesthesiologist. Next is a family office. Next is us. Next is a family office. Next is a family office. Average price in that neighborhood is about $12 million for a home, for a new build, which is insanity, right? And it was so uncomfortable, like super, I'm a car guy, right? Guy pulls up in a beautiful one-of-one garnet red 918 Porsche, like $4.5 million car, right? Pulls it into his garage. And I'm like, oh, you got that kind of money. I'm like, why is this uncomfortable for me? Well, I need to live in that neighborhood. I need to challenge myself. I need to surround myself with people who are thinking at that level, who are investing in Uber as the first 10 investors. Like, those are the people that I want to challenge myself to understand how they work in the world.
And how do you understand the universe in a way that allows you to have that kind of edge?
And not only that, but like, it's part of why we're friends, right? You're on a gong right now. I've never done a gong. It's never called to me. I like comfort, right? But witnessing him and his discomfort has been so powerful for me. I do like take my margaritas and just kind of stir them next to his face.
It doesn't even faze me.
It doesn't.
It doesn't faze me. It really doesn't.
But it's beautiful.
You know what does faze me is like, you know, something that like we went to a pasta place and it was an authentic Italian meal with like cheese and like all the shit I can't eat. Then I'm like, it's not worth it.
So
right?
I'm going to be rolling some pasta this week.
Yeah, totally.
Turn the knife a little.
So, man, I love what you're doing. I think that you have been helping a lot of people. I want you to be able to help more people at scale. I want you to tell people how to find you and how you can potentially help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website's my name. It's ericfarewell.com, EricFarewell.com. There you can find a great assessment to see how free you are in your business and your work life. It's free. There's a blog and lots of newsletter articles and that kind of thing. You sign up for a newsletter. I'm also releasing a book very soon. It's finally at the editors. So it's my second book. And it talks about how do you step into your royal archetype, the version of you that is your king or your queen, the version of you that is not affected when bad things happen. It's not needy when you don't get what you want. It's just present. So I'm really excited for that book to come out. Would love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn or elsewhere, but feel free to reach out. We have a phenomenal community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are doing the work to be fully present in every area of their life. And they're reaping their rewards, not just financially, but also emotionally, physically, in their health, everything else.
I can attest to this, and I want to say this because when I moved to Austin, I met Eric and then all this kind of ring of folks around. And most people are boring muggles. Just non-magical people that are like, you know, what's on TV, you know, the big game is on tonight. And, you know, just really trite conversations around boring campfires. And this group of guys and women have been incredible to be around. Their kids are incredible. And it's like a renaissance of people that are actually looking at their own shit, getting better, helping each other get better and go. So I'm really honored to be part of this community.
Yeah, man. When you moved here, it was just... It's so cool. I'll give backstory. We met 2 years ago in Park City, and then all of a sudden I find out you're moving. So I'm like, this is magic. This is so cool. So it's an honor to have you as part of the community. And for any of your listeners, people who this might stir up a thought or a question, feel free to reach out. I'd love to connect with you. And I have an amazing team because I can't help myself but build things to scale that can support whatever questions or needs you might have.
Amazing. Thank you.
Man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now in the pool.
Yeah, right?
Yes. What we should do is a fucking ropes.
It's a biplane. I bet you. It is. It's a Waco. I'm an airplane nerd.
By the way, this is what happens when you shoot outside.
It is. And that's okay. I mean,
oh my God. Growing up in LA, you'd stop for helicopters every 13 seconds.
And drive-bys.
Oh, and drive-bys, sirens. sirens,
Oh God.
yeah, air raids.